Okay, it is 5 o'clock on Monday, August the 15th. This is the BEDC Board reserves the right to convene into executive session at any time during the meeting regarding any agenda item in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Government Code. For start off, do we have any public comments?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, good. Moving right along. Section 3.1, approval of meeting minutes for the BEDC board meeting of July the 18th.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Very good. 3.2, receive financial report provided by City of Bastrop's Chief Financial Officer for the period ending July 2022 and Treasurer's comments.
So the report has been provided in the packet. Again, things are still continuing to go well. Revenue is still increased versus estimate. A lot of that has to do with, I guess, the combination of both the estimated of recovery post-COVID, but also inflation is a help for us because as inflation increases prices, taxes increase too, so that's a big part. The rest all looks good. Again, when we took a look at expenditures, we're down on expenditures mainly because of incomplete staffing. Also, we did receive the invoice for the fiber study by Schneider. We did look at that. That Tracy was able to send us the backup for that too. We located inconsistencies in the invoicing. And that amount has been approved $1,600 less than what was submitted, so it's right around $45,000 compared to the $47 not to exceed that we had in the contract. So that's been completed by the staff this month. So that's the biggest expenditure we got this month going in. So, and also the report based on the research of a new CEO candidate and also on Steve Weathers is provided as well per the request. So any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. And thank you, Tracy.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, 3.3, a presentation by BEDC consultant Steve Weathers about proposed revisions to the BEDC strategic plan and scope of work. We're also going to talk a little bit about the coordination and accountability. Hello there, Mr.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the time. Good afternoon, everyone. You have a copy of the draft number 2 here, plan in front of you. I'm not going to go page by page, but just jump through a couple of things here, and then ask any questions you have on anything. We can jump to that. So I've included edits. I received information. I took notes myself at the last meeting. I received information from a couple of board members, from the city staff, and have incorporated those changes. So a lot of those are what you see highlighted in yellow. Some are quite extensive. Some are small edits in language. On page 5, I just wanted to point out to you one of the next steps in the scope of work was to have a joint meeting with the city council, and per the city's direction, because they're going through the budgeting process, that wouldn't probably take place until about October. And at the guidance of legal counsel, I've not met with anybody in the city other than a council member and the mayor, obviously being on this board. So we've not gathered their input. So that was kind of just a tentative date, and then possibly in November. So that can change, but just wanted to kind of point that out. If you wonder why that's there, it's because of that information. I want to go back to page 7, Economic Development Training, and thank you, Mayor, very much for pointing out the last meeting about the Municipal League and the Texas Economic Development Council. I researched both of them. They do offer courses as well as the IEDC. So I kind of reworded that if board members are to take training, those are 3 different entities that they could go to. All 3 hold various courses in Public Funds Investment Act, Economic Development, Sales Tax, A&B, Opens Meetings. They hold them throughout Texas. They hold them in Austin, so there is some convenience there in saving costs and time and money. And some of these things are online, so you can also do some of these online. So it's just something that if going forward you want board members to go through training, there's some options for them to do that. On page, let's see here. Page 11. at the bottom. And the original one I had in here about relocating to the office over to City Hall, which had been talked about with city staff again. And actually, my last conversation with the city manager before he departed was that there really isn't room. So I've kind of reworded that at kind of your direction and taking input to really look at maybe suggesting that the office locate in a more prominent location. As you know where it is now, it's kind of hidden. Unless you know where it is, you don't know where it is. And economic development sends a message that it's important to this community, to this body right here, to the elected officials, and to everybody. So just maybe over the next year with your new CEO, trying to find a more prominent location that really shows economic development is important. And I think that's also important for your clients, your customers, businesses coming here, knowing that that stands out, okay, versus sort of maybe hidden in the back, okay? So those are my edits right there. And the last thing I'll point out here, and then we have a discussion, have any questions, is on the last page, 14. I mentioned there about maybe the board considering doing annual board performance evaluation, and this is something I kind of edited it a little, but I've used it with past boards, and it's a self-assessment. A board member takes it, it's confidential, it's sent in without their name, and then it's really going through just to discuss, you know, how well are we performing, what can we do better, does everybody feel engaged, do they feel they know what the mission is, information. The other thing with this, if you had a communications person, what I've done in the past is have somebody write up actually a press release, being very transparent with the public. Hey, the board's done a self-assessment. Here's what they do. Here's where we're trying to improve. Maybe where we fall short. Here's where we're going to do better. Here's where we're doing really great. So it just shows the community, wow, they do kind of take a look in the mirror at themselves, okay? So I can go over as much as you want or as little. I don't know if you have any other edits, changes, thoughts, but just want to let you know that everything I've received has been put into this today.
I'd like to go to page 6, organization accountable to meeting the vision and mission of the organization, that the organization does not have a vision. I think we discussed that at the last meeting, that there is
Right.
no vision.
Right, and I put one in because I did receive input from the city on a vision statement, so I put it in because that was input, but again, it's your decision, so if you want to pull it out, we'll take that out.
Well, let's be clear, what the vision statement is, the vision statement for the city of Bastrop, and the council chose to have a vision statement. I think what Director Gossett's saying is that BED said BEDC's not going to have a vision statement.
Right.
Is that
Okay.
That's what we discussed
Okay.
before,
Yeah.
and it says,
Yeah.
meeting the vision and mission of the organization being BEDC.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no vision of the BEDC. I'm not, you know, the city may have its own vision.
Yeah, that's what
and all of that, but
I had
that,
the same note. If you're going to leave it in there, say the vision of the city of Bastrop.
and the mission of the
BEDC.
BEDC,
Okay, so we'll
But-
take that out. I just want to make sure we,
just to clarify. that.
no, yeah, and that's what I'm here for. I just want to make sure I incorporated whatever input I received, so it's upfront, transparent, so we can take that out. Other,
I would also, on page 3, I guess he was on page 6, so I'm sorry I'm making you go backwards. The policy, it says approved by city council earlier this year. I would like us to just say February 8th, 2022, because we've got the resolution on there, so.
I couldn't find the date. That's my fault. Okay, February 8th. Okay, thank you. Okay.
And I'm not certain how the bylaws impact the strategic plan.
I don't know if they really necessarily impact it. It was just a document I wanted to read through to make sure I've kind of just combed through any kind of public document I have here. That way, if somebody asks, yes, it may not have anything to do with it, but it was read through, okay? Other comments? Let me take that out.
Yes. Let me get to it. You have on page 12.
Page 12.
You have Phase 2 stretch goals. I know that wasn't necessarily in the statement of work or the scope of work that we had. So can you go tell us a little bit about what you have in here and what is it you're trying to, what's the message you're giving to us on this one?
Sure,
Is it
sure.
something we should have, something we should look at, something that we should go for?
Yeah, so the idea of Phase 1 was really getting everything back aligned up and getting everything moving forward. Then Phase 2 is really more, I would say, more traditional economic development. Implement a marketing plan, tell the story of why it's great to be here, why your company should stay here. Create a business retention plan, who's calling on who. We want to make sure that if companies are here, they're happy. If they're not happy, that's not a good message to send either. And then the business attraction. So that's something that is more traditional, which I don't think this organization right now has these things in place, because I don't think you have the staff or the infrastructure to do that, okay? And then the exploratory goal is really something, again, I always like to put something out there. Is it something, again, just that when I said it originally, something you explore? Businesses run on capital. You find a lot of communities have small revolving loan funds run by their economic development organizations that work in conjunction with banks to fund mainly small business, restaurants, retail, commercial. They're not big loan funds, but it helps kind of create the backbone of local ownership of business. Okay, so again, just something to kind of consider. Doesn't mean you do it. But I think these other three in the stretch goals are kind of something we really want to explore for economic development purposes. Okay.
I do have a question on page 8. A lot of that section is highlighted in yellow. I think that's actually copy and paste from what was approved
No,
from, or
Actually,
is that?
the page 8, create an expectation title, that is basically direct input from the city of Bastrop.
Okay. The second paragraph down, it says, the organization is facilitated by the BEDC's CEO and the Assistant City Manager for Economic Development. Do we have an Assistant City Manager for Economic Development, or do we have an Assistant City Manager who has responsibilities for economic development? Page 8. Right. So we don't have an assistant manager for economic
Okay,
development.
well, like I say, that was just the input I received, so I can go back to them and ask to clarify that point.
Yeah, either that, or do we have one, Mayor, that is responsible for community development? Or do you know? Just the wording seemed a little awkward.
I would use city manager.
Okay, I'm meeting tomorrow with the assistant city manager to go over the accountability stuff we'll talk about, so I'll ask him and
You
clarify.
mean our
that.
acting city manager?
Was that the title he has now? Okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with the mayor's comment about that. It should be with the city manager, not the assistant city manager for community development.
Okay,
That meeting should be facilitated by the BEDC CEO and the city manager.
okay.
And the city manager can
can
delegate or
delegate,
do whatever,
yeah.
but the go-to should be the city manager.
Okay. Other input?
I've got a question. Related to the self-assessment, what is the expectation there? That as a board, we come together to do the assessment? Is this an individual self-assessment? How do you envision
Yeah.
this assessment actually being executed?
Yes, I think it's whatever you prefer, but the way I've used these in the past is it's something that's sent to an individual board member, they complete it, it comes back to staff, there's no name on it, and then basically the staff compiles all the results, and it really is, since it's independent on your own, it tells you, are you on the same page? So when you find that there's a question here and all 7 agree, great, or all 7 disagree, okay, or everybody's all over the board, is everybody on the same page? So it's just, like I say, it's something I've used in the past, doesn't mean you have to. I've just found it's been helpful to staff a lot of times and been helpful to a board. And then the community, if you're publicizing, it shows, wow, we do kind of look at ourselves and kind of look at ourselves in the mirror and see how we're doing and where we can improve.
Okay.
But it's not done in this setting, it's really sent to you and then it comes back and then compiled.
Okay, so
Okay.
the expectation is we all contribute to it. It comes together, we do a summation of the information, gather it, and then report it to the public.
Right,
Okay.
right. And I kind of whittled this down. I've had these be as long as 3 and 4 pages, which that's kind of hard to digest. So I wanted to try and make it something that's, easy to digest for a group. And then you can add in changes as you evolve, as the board evolves.
Well, let me add on to that question also. In my mind, it seems like this would be handled with a facilitator. It wouldn't be the participants would want to see the results of it.
Right.
But to me, it seems like a facilitator would go through this and give us, what we're lacking or what we need to work on or things like that, right?
It could go to staff, it could go to legal counsel, it could
Okay.
go to some other outside person if you want, that, again, they're not tied in directly, and they just kind of go through and give you an assessment of where you are and maybe some suggestions. But what I like about these is it really helps. It does help. I've used it obviously with much larger boards, and you really find out, wow, 40% think this way, but 60% think that way. Huh. Okay, well, why is that? Is it perception? Is it reality? What's the reason for that? What can we do to improve? Okay. Do you feel that you can communicate open, publicly, and honestly, and all those things? So, like I said, you can change the questions, but I just think sometimes it's good for especially public entities to do self-assessments.
Okay. Any further questions from anyone? Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate your
Okay.
time on this.
Okay, we'll make the edits on that. Real quick on the, you had another one-page attachment that went to you. That comes out of the scope of work here. I'm going to be meeting with the, not interim, acting. With the acting, that's a new one for me. I'm with the acting city manager tomorrow, and I think some of his team, and we'll go through some of these things, and then I'm going to talk with the staff about meeting with them in the afternoon and try to get their input and start moving down kind of the process of this accountability. And then one of the things we'll use in here, and I sent to you also, so I won't read through it, is this is the policy the mayor mentioned earlier. So under number 7 is accountability. We'll kind of use that as a guideline for putting some of this in, again, trying to keep everybody on the same page, okay, since that is the city policy, so we'll incorporate that, okay? So any questions on that? Good? Okay.
All good.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
guys.
much.
What I'll do when this is cleaned up, I will send it back to staff to then go back to you, so you'll see the few edits and changes. And I'm going to pull everything that's yellow out of there, so now it'll just be a second draft, okay, since you've seen those. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. We will now move to 3.4. It's presentation and update by Doucette and Associates Engineering regarding the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park infrastructure projects.
Well, good evening. I'm Dave Spiker with Doucette and Associates. Just one a quick update. Our project is, we're, 75% complete with the drainage design. We've made some adjustments to our alignment of our road due to the utility easements. So we've contacted the utility companies, and there was not an issue with the gas because we're going underneath and they're deep enough for our road. But the biggest thing that the power company had was they want to be able to drive up on the road and off the road from the side of it so they can drive along their easement. So they only want a certain percentage slope, so we had to lower it a little bit to meet their requirements. No big deal. We finally we got our final Sue back in actually just today. There were 3 additional lines that we had to go out there and locate, and we got that completed today. So we're getting close to just wrapping up our overall design. Then we got to jump into the final plat portion of it. So that's the update on the road. I don't know if y'all have any more questions on that. No, again, with the utilities, we're making the sewer so deep enough to where it can actually sewer the lot south and east of the cul-de-sac that we're building. So we can actually get another lot in there before we have to start building a lift station and things, for the rest of the property. So we made some adjustments with that as well. Any comments?
No?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I resubmitted the proposal, and I pulled out the construction portion of construction inspection and testing and all that stuff portion of it, pulled it out. I don't know if there's slides for that, but I think it's in your packet. And I kind of rearranged it so you understood completely what was construction and what was engineering. So I don't know if there's any other changes you want me to make, or not sure if y'all have any more questions on it. You got to at least ask me one question.
Worried I was going to ask you.
I'm only joking.
I do have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Overall, how do you feel about the project? Do you feel like it's running on time? You're very comfortable with what's going on?
Okay, going back to the first phase?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I think we're doing very well,
Okay.
And I guess the biggest concern I really had was the utility companies getting across their easements, and that didn't seem like it's going to be much of a challenge. I mean, they just asked me to make it easier for them to drive on and off the road, and the gas companies don't really care if you go under them. So, you're not, if you go over them, then they got to deal with your line whenever they have to deal with work on theirs. If you go under them, they don't have to worry about your line. Pretty much is what it comes down to, and that's what we're doing. So essentially, there's the conflicts I thought we were going to have, we're not having.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we're right on schedule, if not ahead of schedule.
Great. Any other questions from anyone? Kevin?
Yeah, is there any actions that are required to be taken based on where we were last meeting and where we are in this?
Yes, sir. At some point before DUSEC can provide us a professional services agreement, the board will have to take action on whether or not they want to move forward with the entire project. It can come back as a PSA, yes. Is that the consensus? Okay.
So we need to make a motion to proceed with a PSA? Or is there anything that's required at this point? Nope.
I think staff really just needed input as to whether or not y'all were good with the, the bottom line number, and we're going to move forward. Okay. Gina and I will work with David to get that PSA together.
I mean, we're in agreement to move forward as a board?
I believe so, yes.
Good.
Okay, I'll get you the we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Did you all want me to stay up here for the next item as well, for the per acre? I don't mind, so if you...
You go ahead and stay. If we need some input, then we'll ask you that. Thank you, yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much then for that portion of it. I guess we're going to move on to 3.6 then, which is the discussion, consideration, and possible action on establishing a price per acre for the properties in the Bastrop Business and Industrial Park currently owned by the BEDC and repealing all prior policies and resolutions.
Chair Spencer, when I own property, I don't normally publicly talk about what I'm going to put it on the market for.
Yeah, good point.
And I appreciate that we had the conversation that the price was set a very long time ago, but I would assume we would have some conversations about how we would come up with a new price. And I understand that it eventually becomes public, but how we get there, I would like to ask Mr. Zeck, is there a portion of setting real property values that the board owns, is that worthy of an executive session discussion?
That's an authorized discussion in closed session.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think that's something that we should be able to talk to in executive session, and since it's not in the executive session
We can meet
today.
on executive session on any item that's posted.
Okay, oh, excellent.
Yeah, just announce it as going into closed session regarding real property and read this section with the rest of it, and we can go into closed session for all of it.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, Chair Spencer, that was put on there in case you guys came out of executive session and needed to take action on anything. That's why it is on the agenda in this format.
Okay, great, thank you very much. All right. Okay, well then, with that, we are going to go into executive session. So the BEDC Board of Directors will meet in a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, to discuss the following. Section 551.074, Personnel Matters, discussion on the Chief Executive Officer position. Number 2, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, would be the Project Western Edge, Colorado Bend Project, the Project Walk for Fame, Project Olive, and Project Sharp. We're also going to talk about what we just discussed in 3.6, discussion and possible action on establishing a price per acre for the properties in the Bastrop Business Industrial Park currently owned by the BEDC and repealing all prior policies and resolutions. So the let's see. Yeah.
You don't need the number. You just
okay, for real estate exceptions, okay, for that, thank you. Okay, it is now 7:08 PM, and the BEDC Board of Directors will reconvene into open session to discuss, consider, and take any actions necessary related to the executive session noted herein.
I make a motion to repeal all property policies in effect for the purpose of selling and marketing the properties of BEDC, and direct staff to conduct a CMA on the remaining properties for future negotiations. CMA being a commercial marketing analysis.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, need a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that. All right, adjourned. Thank you.